About a year and three months ago, I got contacted by an independent writer. His name was Devin O'Neill, who was wanting to do an article on me for Bike Magazine. He did a preliminary interview by phone for a few hours with me, and then he flew out a few months later and spent a couple of days with me. He'd said too that uh, Bike Magazine would contact me about when the photo shoot was going to go down. I assumed it would be relatively soon, but it really wasn't. It The prime time I would have thought would have been in the winter when there's a bit of moisture and everything was just awesome, snow on the rocks, and would have been beautiful. But anyway, so winter turned to spring, turned to summer, and 2 weeks ago I got the phone call, and the Monday before last he arrived, and he was here Monday, Tuesday, and this is the podcast about how it all went down. He eventually got over to our house at probably like 1:30 or something like that. So it was, wasn't the best light for taking pictures, obviously. It was hot and whatever, so I figured it would be good just to go and scout a couple places, and we actually brought our stuff, our bikes and clothes and whatnot as well, and we decided to ride out into Broken Arrow. I wanted to go and show him a couple of things out in Broken Arrow, and went out there just as some clouds started moving in. And he's like, I think we can shoot right here, right now. So we started shooting on some of the stuff, and worked out pretty good. And then I went to basically the second feature I wanted to show him. And it was a fair-sized drop, pretty big drop. And it just wasn't, I wasn't seeing it. I've done it, half a dozen times perhaps, and it always worked out well. Always scary, kind of a weird drop. And so he had his camera ready and was all set up to shoot, and I said, I'm going to try it. It doesn't look, something's wrong with the landing. It kind of eroded, I think. So I ran up to it once and stopped. Ran up to it a second time and stopped, and third time I'm going for it. It's like, what's the worst that can happen? And I was in it at that point of no return. And I froze up again, and I stopped, tried to stop, but I passed that point where I couldn't stop, and I actually stopped the bike, but I couldn't stop me, and I just went over the bars with the bike tangled. The actual drop was probably 10, 11 feet. But it feels a lot higher when you're on the bike, up above that. Another, 5 feet above that. It's like 15 feet your head's going to fall. And anyway, so got tangled in the bike, went over slow motion, and landed on the bike and got bloody poked in the rear by something, whether it's a handlebar or pedal or something. Got my rear wheel bent, and freaking derailleur hanger all bent, and got my ass bent. And anyway, so managed to get everything kind of working again, and decided not to do that feature, and we moved on and rode around a bit. Then we changed spots. We went up to Hangover Trail, where I really one spot I wanted to show him, and I figured, basically looking at the light, we had a couple of hours until the light was perfect where I wanted him to go. So I decided to show him the actual drainage that runs from Cow Pies down. That drainage we refer to it as free ride wash, and it's got some awesome, unusual features. It's obviously red rocks and whatnot, but the perspective you're getting is different. So I figured taking photos down there, people could tell that it was in the area, but wouldn't know where the hell it was, because it's not something that's ever photographed. Never seen any photographs of that area. So we spent a couple of hours, maybe hour and a half, down in that wash, allowing us just enough time to get up to Hangover for where the light was going to be perfect, and worked out swimmingly. And we made our way up there, and And yeah, he shot a bunch of stuff up there, and and then that all worked out. So that was day one in a bag, and yeah, he was super stoked at what we got. And then
Well,
yes, what's that?
what what exactly did you guys get? What, like when the sunlight was perfect? Where were you at?
We were up at the end of Hangover, right where you drop off, where it's actually hung over. That you basically
Okay.
go down that last cliff there,
Oh, cool.
where you know, at Hangover when you come out of the trees for the last time
Yeah.
and you're onto the slick rock. The normal trail, when you come out, you do a hard right turn and you go back along and then you drop down at the furthest end. My line is straight down. Just go straight down the cliff there. So he climbed across the canyon and shot with a big lens across the canyon
Nice.
at me coming down, and then I moved over to the side where he was sitting and we shot over there too. Uh, more more with the sun in the background.
Sweet.
So more of a silhouette type stuff. That
Nice.
going basically down a fin, this kind of rock fin, crossing some dust areas. At times I was throwing up dust. It was kind of windy, so I think it's going to look really good. Yeah, so that was the end of day one, and then day two we wanted to get out at first light, just as sun came over the the hill, and so woke up at 4:15 and headed out to the back of Beyond Trailhead. We got there right before 5 and we're on the trail by 5. Hiked up and the sun just started cresting. It was beautiful and nice and cool. Hiked up the mountain and I was a little nervous, to tell you the truth. I hadn't actually ridden it in a while, and it looked a whole lot steeper than I remembered. And anyway, so we broke it into short segments so that you'd be able to get good angles on each facet of the downhill, and it all worked out well. And then yeah, basically wrapped it up with that. I don't think we did anything else, did we?
Well, I mean, he was really stoked with all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then, like, you came up here and.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So then, so as soon as we were done with the cathedral, we went our separate ways for a while. Anthony went back to his hotel,
The Baby Quill Inn.
the Baby Quail Inn, and which is just down the street from over the edge,
Yeah.
and we
Over the edge by
we
yourself.
we arranged to meet up a little while later because I needed to have my rear wheel trued and some other minor stuff on the bike, and we actually headed up towards Flagstaff and came up to our campsite up in the Aspens, up on the side of the San Francisco Peaks. We're about probably a half a mile to 3/4 of a mile down from the Arizona trail. So we pedaled up to a cattle tank, an animal tank, I guess, not really a cattle tank, but it's an elk tank maybe. It's a spring-fed
Right now it's a
pond.
dog tank.
It's a spring-fed pond, which is really beautiful. And we stopped and took a few shots up there, and then we jumped onto the Arizona trail down to the 418, Road 418. I don't know, it's probably 6 miles, 5-6 miles or something like that. Just a nice flowy downhill, essentially, almost all the way through the aspens and pines and spruce and big old fern beds at times, like as tall as you. When you're riding through, you can hardly see the trail. And yeah, it was just fantastic. I mean, the views from up there at times were just spectacular. And it kind of reminds one of like Crested Butte at times. except there was no stream filled with beavers like Crested Butte, but but it was certainly as beautiful and cool. It was amazing. So anyway, and then we wrapped up the day. He came and hung out with us for a bit up at the camp again, and we had a couple beers and chatted about stuff and played with the dogs. He was in love with Midas. He was in love with Midas. That dog had more pictures taken of him than me. And I think it's going to be an article on Midas and not me.